It's something a bit philosophical, also grounded in reality. Do you want to know why legislated morality and forced governance is never going to work? It has never worked and it's never going to work. It's always going to leave people disenfranchised, left out, minority groups done wrong by. Because not all minority groups are bad people, you know. Do you want to know why? Self-discipline is a myth. It's bullshit. No such thing. No such thing as self-discipline. There's good habits, there's bad habits. There's indoctrinated beliefs. And then there is self-realisation. Self-realisation comes from doing your own groundwork, your own homework, your own research, and coming to conclusions based on your own critical thinking. Indoctrinated beliefs is just somebody else's beliefs programmed into you. It's programming. If you think that you have good self-discipline because of what was disciplined into you as a child, it's not discipline, it's programming. And you've chose to not break away from that programming. You've chose to be the same person that whoever programmed you is or wanted you to be. You've chosen not to be yourself. You've chosen not to take your own path, to find your own destiny, to realise your God-given purpose, your natural purpose in life. You have chosen to be, for lack of a better word, a meat robot. Now, there's good and bad habits. Good and bad habits that we've learned from others, and good and bad habits we've picked up ourselves. There's good health habits, there's good social habits, there's good family habits, there's also bad ones. Alcohol, there's a bad habit. I would go as far as to say that alcohol is a worse habit than drugs. From experience. I've always been a far worse person on alcohol than drugs. I experienced a lot of aggressive violence as a child at home because of alcohol. Which led me on the path to find myself, because I knew that was a bad way to live. It's bad choices. Very bad choices. I've made a lot of bad choices myself. I'll probably still make some. Why? Because I'm human. No other reason. We're flawed. Every single one of us is a flawed individual. But some of us are a flawed individual by mistake and poor choices, and some of them are a flawed individual by choice. Regardless of poor or bad choice, we choose to be an asshole. There's plenty of those around. These are usually the people that choose and endeavour to seek positions of authority. It's kind of like a theory of a bloke that once told me, who had a rent-a-car that he never returned, following the police up the road. I said, dude, the car's been registered as stolen. You haven't taken it back. Well, as long as I'm behind the police and not behind me. That was his choice to not be in a position of authority, but to stick it to authority. I'm not saying that was a good choice or a wise choice or even a moral choice, but it was a choice. He chose to be reckless. He chose to be a rebel. myself. I don't choose to be reckless. I definitely choose to be a rebel. I rebel against things that are unjust. I will not bend the knee to things that are unjust. I will not bend the knee to tyranny or fascism. I will not bend the knee to anybody that thinks that they have the authority to use whatever force they deem necessary to force me to live the way they want me to live or to do what they want me to do. Who are they to tell me? Nobody. You have no right to tell anybody to do anything, and nobody has the right to make you do anything. End of story. So, this rubbish about self-discipline, I used to think self-discipline was an important thing. Until I come to the realisation there's actually no such thing. It's just good and bad habits. That's all it is, good and bad habits. You get into the habit of doing certain things every day for your health, you get healthy. You get into the habit of being a decent, moral person every day and treating everyone around you with respect every day. It becomes a good habit and you just do it automatically. That's not self-discipline. It's a habit. Self-discipline is forcing you to do something that you don't want to do. It's forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do because somebody else wants you to do it. That's not a good thing. That's called legislated morality and forced control from an outside source. That's somebody else forcing you to do that. That's somebody else's voice in your head, living rent-free in your head, telling you what to do. Oh, I better do that because it's a disciplined thing to do. No, you're doing that because you're trying to please the voice that's in your head. It's not your voice. It's somebody else who's had control over you at some point in life. Good habits. Just pick up good habits and keep going with them. Keep running with them. That's all it is. Now, just because somebody deems themselves as an authority because they was granted that job role, telling you to do something, doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Doesn't mean you should do it. Not always, but quite often, you should question that. And the person that's trying to make you do that should probably, before they even endeavoured on that path to controlling somebody else, perhaps should ask themselves, is this the right thing to do? Is this the moral thing to do? Is this based in Christian law, where our law derives from, because it is the only moral law on earth? The truly moral law? Ask yourself, am I about to do a whole bunch of harm to someone's life or a family for the sake of a couple of $100 of revenue, and to say, you broke the law, you're a naughty boy, and give them a criminal record, when what they was going to do wasn't even going to harm anybody? If that's the case, they weren't breaking a law, you are. You're indoctrinated. You're brainwashed. You are acting on self-discipline. And like I said, there's no such thing. That's somebody else's voice in your head. I make these videos to try and get people to think, not to get a reaction from them or a rise or to piss anyone off, to get people to think for themselves. That's all. I'm trying to spark critical thought and discernment within people's own self, without somebody else's voice running around in their head, living rent-free, telling them what's right and wrong. You already know what's right and wrong. It's in there. It's called your conscience, the thing you was born with, your original programming. Nobody taught you conscience. You was born with that. Listen to it.